Johanna.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this week's junk journal with me. This week's video is a Halloween special junk journal with me. I'm working in a different journal. This is my Halloween journal that I work in once a year. And here I'm just showing you all the bits and pieces that I have. So photos, a lolly wrapper, and I also printed out the New South Wales Health COVID tips for Halloween this year, because Halloween looks a little bit different this year, just like so many other things. And I work chronologically in this journal, so it's all in order. Each year it's just side by side. So I'm just flicking through and taking a look at the pages that I'm going to be working on today. The first thing I'm doing is cutting out this little Jumanji doll miniature piece, and I found this on a YouTube video which I'll link down below. It's supposed to be like a miniature game for dolls. I'm going to use it as like just a little miniature embellishment that's a little bit interactive, because on Halloween night, instead of going trick-or-treating, we just watched a couple of movies and we watched Jumanji, so I'm just going to include that as like an embellishment to go along with that journaling. So this little printable miniature game board, it isn't the best. It's not very clear. It's kind of a little bit blurry. I don't know if that's just the way that I downloaded it or if it's like an older file or something like that, but I didn't really mind that it wasn't super clear because it's just to embellish the page, and the front of it turned out pretty good, the front of the Jumanji board. And you can see I'm just assembling this in my own way. It's different from the instructions that come on the video that I found this printable, because theirs was like a 3D box, and I'm just making something that can fold flat. So I'm just gluing the pieces onto some white cardstock, and it's just going to open up and down to reveal the board inside, and I think it's just a really fun little embellishment to add to the page. So now that that's all ready to go, I'm just going to start working through my ephemera and putting things down in the order that I want it to be. So the first thing I have here is the printout of the New South Wales Health COVID tips for trick-or-treating or handing out lollies, and I just screenshot this on my phone and then I printed it out onto some vintage ledger paper so that it looks a little bit distressed. But I just thought that that would be kind of interesting to look back on in years to come, when eventually, believe it or not, this whole pandemic is going to be over, or somewhat over. It's not going to be the way that it is now, and I think it'll be really interesting to look back on the way that things were. So that's why I've included those. I also have some random Halloween papers that I use each year, and then I also have my Halloween papers from this year, including some linen or doily drawings. There's some fold out pieces, and there's also a paper pack, and that whole collection is called Full Moon, and you can print it out at home. So I'm just flicking through all the pieces that I have so that I know, so that I'm familiar with the pieces that I have as I'm working in my journal. I know what I can pull out. The first thing I'm doing is just picking a little illustrated doily image, and I'm just cutting that out. These have been printed on sticker paper, so I can just peel and stick that straight down on the page. And I'm going to use that doily as like the title piece for this journaling. So straight away I just went in and wrote COVID safe Halloween 2020. And I guess that's sort of the introduction to the pages. And then I'm going to include those COVID safe tips on the page. So for one part of it, I glued it straight down onto the page. And then for the other part of it, I'm going to use that inside the pocket on the other side. So just adding a little bit of tape along the edges of that so that it sticks really well. I find that whenever papers have been tea dyed, things don't glue to them as well as paper that hasn't been tea dyed, so they need a little bit more reinforcement. So with that other COVID safe tip piece, I'm going to glue one of my photos down on top on the back side of it, and that's just going to tuck inside the pocket. So that's a little picture of my kids in their costumes. First thing in the morning they went and got their costumes on, and I just added a little bit of stitching down the side of that to make sure that it was stuck well. And then the other photo of my daughter wearing her mask, eating her breakfast. So I'm just going to back that photo onto one of these journaling cards from the full moon collection that I created, and that fits perfectly on the back of that photo. So I printed the papers out at home on a normal inkjet printer, so they're just on A4 paper. You can print them larger if you have a larger printer or you have access to a larger printer, but they look quite cute on the A4 paper anyway. Then I have this photo here of a paper mache pumpkin that we made. It's not even finished yet, but we wanted to do some Halloween crafts. We wanted to paint pumpkins, but they had no pumpkins left, so we ended up trying to make our own Halloween pumpkin that we can repaint each year. So we did that with paper mache, and I wanted to put that next because it was sort of chronologically the next thing that we did, but I'm just trying to work out how I'm going to set the pages up. So I also have a photo of us watching, or a photo of the TV when we were watching Jumanji, and I also have another photo of my son at his friend's house. He went for a birthday sleepover on Halloween night. I thought it would be really cute to put the photo of him at his friend's house inside one of the foldouts so that you can lift it up and sort of read about it and see the picture, have it sort of semi-hidden into the page. So I was just trying to work out which fold-out piece would be best for that. But I'm still just playing around with all the different papers that I have, I want the page to be visually appealing, so I want to fill in the spaces in a way that looks really cool. So I'm just working around with my pieces, trying to work out what's the best layout to go with. So fiddling around with that photo of my son at the birthday party again, trying to decide which fold out to use. I liked the way it fit really well inside the sort of the book fold out. Could be a spell book or like just a book about insects or something like that. I liked the way that it fit inside that. I also liked the way it sat inside the haunted house fold out because it is kind of a very literal way to use it, like he was inside the house. So, and especially because the house was all decorated in Halloween decorations, so I felt like that would have worked really well, but I just didn't like the way the photo sat inside it. I also have there the invitation from the party, which I want to put alongside the photo, and then this ghost pink paper is from the full moon collection from my Etsy shop, and I'm just going to glue a piece of that down on the page just to fill in some space and add some more decoration, more patterns to the page. So chronologically, like I said, the next thing was about the paper mache pumpkin. So I wanted to use this ghost page to talk about that pumpkin. So I've got it in two different stages of development. So like its first layer of paper mache and then the next layer of paper mache. And I wanted to have a photo of it all finished and painted, but we didn't actually get to that stage. And I've decided that I'm going to put a couple more layers on it before I paint it. Since we've already gone past Halloween, I'll make it super strong for next Halloween. I cut out another one of those illustrated doilies. These are from the full moon collection as well, and I'm going to use that to lay the photos of the pumpkin on top of, so they're just going to go one on top of the other. And I decided to just staple those straight down rather than messing around with double-sided tape or whatever to glue them down. I'm just going to use a stapler because it's a lot faster. And they're stapled in a way so that you can lift them up and journal underneath on top of that linen printable. Now moving on to the next page with the invitation and the photo of my son at the party, I'm just going to start gluing those pieces down now. So the invitation overlaps the page just a little bit so that I could fit the entire thing on without having to trim it down or anything. And I like the way that that looks. And then I'm going to put a fold out along the bottom and have the photo of him inside it. So I really liked the way the book fit well with it, so I want to use that. I just had to trim it down a little bit on the back because otherwise it was going to hang out of the journal a little bit too much. So I think that turned out really cool the way that it sits there along the bottom. I think it actually looks cool the way that it looks trimmed down as well. It sort of blends into the page really well. I have a little Goosebumps playing card, which I was trying to see if it fit well, but there wasn't anywhere that I felt like it went, so I didn't end up including that. Now moving on to the last page spread, I have the photo of us watching Jumanji, or a photo of the TV with Jumanji on the screen, and I have the little mini Jumanji board. And then I'm just cutting out another one of those doilies, and I'm going to use that for some journaling space. I wanted to finish by filling out both of these pages that are side by side, so I'm going to work on the other page as well. I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to include there. Just started out with the linen printable straight away, stuck that down on the page, and that's my little starting place. And then I'm going to overlap the photo just a little bit over the edge of that, and then the Jumanji board is going to sit along the top, and it's going to cover up some of that white space in the photo. Because that Jumanji board's kind of thick with 2 layers of cardstock, I'm just stapling that straight down as well. But I think that's such a fun little addition to the page. And then I have this minty wrapper from Halloween, just some leftover lollies that we had ourselves, and I'm just going to glue that straight down on top of that little piece on the right. It's like a little flap, a little paper flap on that page, and then I just added a staple as well just to reinforce it. And I'm just tucking a little journaling card inside there. That one is from Graphic 45. Now you can see I've gone in and added my journaling to all the spaces that I left for myself. So on top of the linens and inside the fold outs and just anywhere there was room to write, like on top of the journaling card. And now I'm just going to grab my pen again, and I'm just going to add a couple of little details, just some little lines on the page, just to make it feel a little bit more finished. I was pretty much done at this point. I didn't want to add any stickers or anything, so I'm just adding some little messy lines around the page just to help frame things, and just, I think it just makes it look more finished, more detailed. The pen that I'm using is the Pentel Energel liquid gel ink, and it's in 1mm. So I really like that pen. It's really smooth to write with. And that's the finished pages. So I worked across a couple of pages. I'm actually surprised. I was looking through this journal and it's like halfway full already, and it only has a couple of years worth of journaling in it because I only write in it once a year. But hopefully it's going to last us for a couple more Halloweens yet, because I'm not really too keen on making another Halloween journal. I'd rather it all just be in one place. So if worse comes to worse, I can always make a new cover to fit more pages inside. But yeah, that is my Halloween junk journaling for today. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you all enjoyed your little Halloween weekend, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.